Welcome to episode 95 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies, plus tips, apps, and gear. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg. My co-host, Dwarren Sklar, is here. How you doing, Dwarren?
I am here. I'm doing good. How are you? How's it going?
Doing well.
Awesome.
Doing well. Our fine state of Illinois did a smart thing, and we are shelter in place for another 30 days. So we'll be having some fun at home.
We could all go to Georgia and get haircuts, I think, right now.
Yeah, I might have to go out there just to get my haircut.
Too.
No.
And my dog and the tattoos. I think you get a tattoo there too.
Oh, brother. But yeah, we're going to talk about the iPhone SE. It's in everybody's hot little hands, and we also are going to talk about you have the keyboard before me. I'm not happy about that, but it's okay. Yeah. I'll have mine tomorrow. I finally got the shipping. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then we got all kinds of other fun stuff to talk about. So let's go right into the news, shall we?
Do it.
First story was Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi 6E has become official. The FCC will vote on the rules this month, but we've been talking about this for a little bit. Wi-Fi 6 is the newest technology for the Wi-Fi spectrum, and FCC is going to approve it or has approved it, and they're going to talk about the different spectrum here. And biggest concern was about its reach. Luckily, the iPhone and the iPhone 11, iPhone 11 Pro Max, all have Wi-Fi 6 capabilities already, but it's pretty pricey. You didn't buy it. Did you buy a router yet for that?
No, well, I bought one at Walmart and it was cheap, but it was Wi-Fi 6. It was like $100. I'm like, let's try it. And the speeds were about the same as what my Orbi and other one does. So I returned it. So I'm not sure if it was just because the cost of the unit didn't give me good speeds or what it was, but so right now I only have the iPhone. That's it, right? That's the only thing with Wi-Fi 6 that we have in there. So the iPhone Pro Max, everything else is I have the old 2018 iPad, so that doesn't have it, and it's not worth it. Not yet.
Yeah, no, I think technology is still pretty new. It's definitely going to be different. This article was in Ars Technica, so we'll link to this in the show notes to look at the different band. And they still have to vote on the actual spectrum. So if those you have newer routers, you have the 2.4 gigahertz band. Then you have that's for the excellent range of penetration, but it's crowded. It's been around for a long time, and it can have a lot of interference. Then you have the 5G bands. So generally, like my router has two separate bands in the 5G, which is great. But yeah, sometimes you do have some connection issues depending on how big your house is and all that. So, but at least 11 Pro and 11 and 11 Pro already have the technology. It's ready to go. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I think it's going to be still a little further out before we see any devices that are really going to take advantage of the speeds. So
unfortunately, because I really am interested in that because I'm always trying to. I have Verizon. The gigabit network, and I've been on a tear to try to get the best speed I could get, and I do okay about 400 megabits per second on the Wi-Fi, but we could do better.
Okay, so next story we found, Verizon is giving customers 15 gigabytes of extra hotspot data for the month of May. Verizon announced today that they're going to plan to give an additional 15 gigs of LTE data to all their customers and small business plans in May to continue to support their customers who are working from home. How nice of them. I'm not a Verizon customer, nor am I a big Verizon fan for that matter. In fact, I had an experience where somebody had a MiFi device that had unlimited data, but of course they used over their unlimited quote unquote data and they started throttling the speeds. So, and it was only 22 gigabytes is where the limit was. And that person was at 37 gigabytes. So, but anyway, that's near here or there. But what'd you think? I think it's okay. Nice Verizon's doing that for a month for us people working from home.
Yeah, no, I'm reading the first the comment, and basically it says T-Mobile already did it last month,
Yeah.
and then they all jumped on him for that. But yeah, T-Mobile did the
Yeah.
same thing, so
So
it's good.
T-Mobile
You know,
leads the way, and everybody else follows suit.
pretty much, and it's I think it's for hotspot, right? They did it for
Yeah.
hotspot, yeah. So it's that's good if I think a lot of the issues are a lot of the kids don't have internet. Some of the kids don't have internet for school, so
Yeah.
they're doing it for those people. And I know there's also free internet out there for them, so people are trying to get the kids on the
Yep.
internet for the most part. I think it's what's going on here.
Yep. That's a Mac Rumors article linked out in the show notes. Next story. This has been all over the news for the last couple days. We talked about it yesterday on Mac to the Future Go, but I found actually this article just got updated today. Matter of fact, to my friends Adam Engst and the gang at Tidbits. iOS mail exploits seriously but unlikely to affect normal users. The security firm ZecOps had announced that some of its customers were hit with a pair of previously undiscovered exploits for mail in iOS that causes the app to crash, reveals a mechanism that could be used as part of a sequence of a zero-day attack. In iOS 13, the vulnerabilities can be exploited merely by receiving an email message. Well, if you read through this article, it tells you that it's not going to affect us mere mortals, where it's going to not have to make any changes. You don't have to worry about it, other than the fact that it will be updated in 13.4.5 very shortly. So what do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of places that you listen to really make it out to be a big deal. One person I was listening to said there hasn't been a 0-day attack on an iPhone in years.
Forever.
Forever. So, this is how things get fixed. People discover them and then they fix them. And, they're computers and nothing is, as long as things are connected to the internet and have sensitive data on it, there's, things are going to happen. And that's going to be the life. So, it's good that they figured it out. I mentioned it yesterday. I think that it makes sense that maybe Jeff Bezos had this happen to him, if possible, because it kind of sounds like the thing that happened. And it's funny because when that happened to Bezos, we were like, "Nah, there's no way. There's no email message or there's nothing that can do this." It goes to show you that computers are computers, and nothing is nothing is totally hack proof, and the more they figure it out, the better we are.
Absolutely. That was in Mac Rumors for that article. And next story, Darkroom. There's a great photo editor called Darkroom for iPhone and iPad. They expanded with video editing features. This popular iOS app, which is only $5, it's like $4.99, and it works across both the iPhone and the iPad. Released some great updates yesterday. This was a 9 to 5 Mac. Which released some major under-the-hood changes to improve its performance and full mouse and trackpad support, which is huge, which we'll talk about in a bit. The app expanded beyond its photos capabilities now that the newest updates can now handle video editing too. So it's touting some pretty awesome ultra-fast editing experiences for videos, as well as it has codecs that'll support the HEVC, which is the Apple standard, and H.264. Definitely a first step in another journey with Darkroom app. Have you used this app before?
I have not. Nope.
Actually, I read an article here. It says it's free download with an in-app purchase starting at $1.99. So you'll have some options in in-app purchase. So no, but you've never used this before,
cool. No, I'm not a big photo editor. I seem to be okay with most of the time Photos app and whatever, maybe a free thing I'll find once in here and there, but I don't do much of my photos other than kind of clean them up a little bit. But I should get a little more into it now that I have time. But Maybe I
I
will.
looked at the in-app purchase costs. If you want to unlock everything, it's $9.99. So then you have it for forever to unlock all the tools. Check.
Yeah, it's got 5-star.
Yeah,
5-star review.
Yeah, no, it's got a lot of great reviews. I've used it for a little while, and it's a nice alternative. So check that one out. This is your story if you want to read that.
Yeah, no, I put this in basically because it just makes me feel like a little kid. Short form Fraggle Rock series from Jim Henson Company, now available on Apple TV. It's an article I posted in for Mac Rumors, but it's been around. So basically, Apple TV launched a show from my youth called Fraggle
Mine
Rock.
too.
I don't know if you ever watched it.
Yep.
I remember some of the songs. I can't remember what I ate for lunch yesterday, but I can remember some of the songs. I remember 4 out of 5 character names, so that was pretty good. And so I watched it. It's what was it, 5-minute show, and it's interesting because it was all shot at the homes of the people doing it because of the quarantine. So they're basically shooting these episodes in their basements separately, which is kind of cool. And it was cute. Definitely cute. Kind of brought back some memories. The voices are kind of the same. I didn't realize Gobo was Canadian. I forgot about that. He is Canadian, so he has a Canadian accent. I remember Red, she's crazy, and did a little researching after a little wiki doc with the dog. He died. He was old. He was in his 90s, so he died. He died a couple years back. So he was old back then, actually.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the Dozers and the King and all that. It's good stuff. I enjoyed it. And what's the other show that I want to watch? There's another Apple TV show that just came out. I think the Defending Jacob's coming out.
Oh wow!
I'm gonna watch that too. That's another one.
Yeah. They're really expanding on Apple TV Plus, which is awesome. It's good to see. So it's more and more great content coming.
Yep.
The next article, and I never thought in a million years I would link to an article in Android Central, but I did. The cheapest iPhone has a more powerful processor than the most expensive Android phone. Apple is using the A13 Bionic in the 2020 edition of the SE, and it outperforms the Snapdragon 865 in almost every way, as according to the article from Android Central. And they go through and talk about a lot of the multi-threading performance and how the CPU is a lot faster than what many of the most Androids are out there. And some of the features it may not have, like a Pixel 4, Pixel 3, may not. It has some more stuff maybe than what the iPhone does. But overall, as I read through this, it was funny to see actually that they're saying that the iPhone outperforms it. What did you think?
I mean, they cheated a little bit because they put the best processor they have into the cheapest body. So I mean, yeah, you got that. Is it better than? Well, is it better than Android phones as far as the rest of the hardware? Who knows? Definitely the software is better. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of a cheat because I think I said I read it last week. It's the Ferrari engine in the Honda Accord body.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what they did. So it's good. It's
we'll
good competition. We'll put something better in there.
We'll definitely talk more about it here in just a bit here. And then last story, you put this out here, but started off here is Apple released iOS 13.4.1, but only for the iPhone SE ahead of its launch. What you think of this?
No, the only thing that caught my eye with that is basically people who get the phone tomorrow are gonna need to run that update. I guess at some point. Right. So, just I guess if anybody's listening, be careful with not running the update before you restore.
Right.
Because some people could do that. Because that could be a problem. I guess if you take an iCloud backup of your current phone and get the new phone and then don't do the iCloud back restore first. Just go up as a new phone and then just do the software update and updates to the newest version. Maybe it's going to complain about going back to restore the older version of the phone. But so I would say restore, then do the update if that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we're at 13.4.1 now on the 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max. It's kind of strange that Apple did this.
There must be something that's, if it's specific to that, it's got to be something with that phone that they forgot to include in the.
Because it's the same version. It's just maybe this version for just for the SE is definitely got some fixes.
They've done that before. They've done that before. They put in they've done updates for just certain models of iPhones and iPads before. So it's not the first time they did it, but it certainly is a little confusing.
So that's the news for this week. Let's go right into topics. So beta testing this week, very slow. There was no release this past week, still since last week on April 15th. Beta 2, 13.4.5 is out. Eventually, so that fix we just talked about is probably going to be part of it. You said it was not part of it currently, is not?
That's what I read. And this story kind of broke after that last beta came out, so I don't think they actually did anything with it. Yeah. So I would expect Tuesday of next week we'll be seeing something.
Yeah, I mean, as things progress here, I think 13.4.5 is probably going to be the last version before we start hitting into the summer months when WWDC Virtual comes out, and then they start talking about iOS 14. So I would, unless something strange happens and they have to release another version just to fix things, I would think this probably is right near the end of the version that we'll have, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, as we said before, they're just gonna try to perfect everything before the end of the line, and once they do that, it's gonna be on to iOS 14, which it's coming.
Yep,
it's coming faster than we thought.
All right, so let's move on. And we talked last week. Warren and I both ordered the Magic Keyboard for the iPad. And of course, Warren decided to become a UPS driver and decided to go run out and go pick it up at the depot today because he couldn't wait. So you've got it in your hands. You've only had it for a few hours. So we're really going to save our full review of the Magic Keyboard until next week, which I have a surprise about next week's show at the end of the show here. What's your impression so far after having it for maybe 10 or 12 hours now? Maybe less than that?
Oh, not even. I've had it for a couple hours. I think you can't really see it well with my virtual background, I guess, right?
Probably not. No.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
The impression is a couple things. Feels solid.
Yep.
The keyboard feels good to type on. The trackpad is nice to type on. The gestures, once you start to learn them, are very good. The mouse is responsive.
Yeah.
It feels like kind of a whole new system now. If I have two complaints right off the bat, it would be the viewing angles that you could do on this. It's kind of a weird. It's got two things. It's got the hinge, which takes the iPad up and down mostly, but it doesn't go flat.
Yep.
It goes it goes a little bit more, 50 degrees or something like that. And then there's another hinge that goes a little bit more. So it's if you're on a couch, it's okay. But if the iPad's a little too high, it's kind of not a great angle. The other complaint that I have is the numbers kind of hover underneath the bottom of where the iPad's kind of goes. So sometimes you do have to kind of stick your fingers in between the iPad and the keyboard to type the numbers if you want. And the last complaint is there is no escape key. So a lot of times, you're in something and you feel like you want to hit escape and you can't. But otherwise, everything else is pretty good. I've actually tested out remote desktop connection, which seems to be fully supported with the touchpad and the keyboard, and that's great. It's like being right on a Windows computer. TeamViewer and a couple others aren't quite there yet. Sidecar works really cool. The keyboard, when you're on Sidecar, you can use the keyboard to type on on the Mac OS, which is great.
You've dove in quick.
Oh yeah, I've been playing with this nonstop since I got it. So
why am I not surprised? I'll probably do the same thing tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it really makes it feel like it's kind of a whole different thing, and I never really use my iPad as much as I want to. So right now I'm going through the experiment of trying to use it as a computer, and some things it does, some things it doesn't still, but it's definitely a lot easier to do things that I couldn't do before with it. So,
all right.
You'll like it. Let me know when you
get we'll save more discussion about this until next week's show, because we'll have it for a good full week and give you a really good, honest review of how it all is. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about this. This actually was an article in 9 to 5 Mac, but I wanted to actually talk about it because I always get questions about people asking me. I'm sure they ask you as well, is how much a specific iPhone is going to be when you trade it in. In this case, this is the iPhone 10, and the iPhone 10 was a great phone. Did you have the iPhone 10 at one point?
Sure.
Yeah, I think. Why don't I even ask that? Of course.
That was like,
I mean, I do only because I'm on the trade-in plan. You're in the trade-in program too, so
no, I'm in the buy out.
Oh, you buy them outright and sell them. Okay, that's right. I'm in the trade-in plan, so I do that. So the iPhone 10 is only a few years old. It's about 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, 3 years, probably at least. So
10
something like that. I have to look it up to verify, but but they're saying that the cost could be anywhere in a trade-in from between $200 and $320, depending on, of course, a variety of factors, including storage size, condition, and whether or not you're willing to take a store credit instead of cash. So you got to decide, do you want to store credit? When I would trade it in, I trade it in with Apple. I mean, I even looked up what the 10R is that I have as a spare phone, and they were going to give me over $300 for that. But I'm not going to trade it in for the iPhone SE because it does, the 10R's got a lot more compelling features that the 10R, the SE doesn't. You've sold your phones out, right? Pretty much, right? You've never really traded them in.
Right. Yeah. I've either sold them. So I've done a lot of different ways to sell.
Right.
I've tried Craigslist. I've tried, those Gazelle kind of things. There's a whole bunch of them.
Gazelle, right? It's on there. Yep.
Yeah. I've done back to Apple here and there. Yep. I've done Facebook, a lot of, just posting on Facebook groups and people buy it that way. Forums. So, pretty much, doing it through different venues, and generally it comes to price compared to how much of a pain in the butt it is to do this. So, generally when you deal with like Facebook and Craigslist, you're dealing with, and I also did Let Go, that app too. So Craigslist and Let Go and Facebook Marketplace, you just have to be prepared to deal with like 90% of scammers.
Right. That's the problem.
It's basically, it can't, I can't pick it up. Can you ship it to my daughter in Georgia because blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And you just ignore those.
Yeah. I've seen those. Yeah.
So you get those all the time. And then you get, a lot of, you get negotiations. So when you're selling privately, everybody's going to try to negotiate with you. But, out of like that, you'll get like, 0.1% of somebody that you could, and you get good at telling who's legitimate and, who's going to be a good purchase. And I've gotten pretty good at that and pretty much sold them a couple that way. You follow the rules, you meet somewhere local, you take cash, you don't, you meet in a public space. you'd be honest with you what you're selling, things like that, and it works well. The Apple trade-in program had a couple of years where they were actually really competitive with some of the other things. I think they backed off a little bit on that.
No, I think they've gotten better. Last experiences I've had, family member just traded in an iPhone 8 Plus, and they're going to get $250 back for it, which for a phone at that age, is not bad. Like I mentioned, the 10Rs, the 10Rs, $300 trade in with Apple. I think Guy Searle, he got the same thing. He got he traded his 8 Plus in for $250. So that's reasonable. I mean, yeah, you're going to, if you do eBay's another thing I've dabbled in trying to sell it on there. Craigslist, I've did that in the past. I've kind of avoided Craigslist. It's just kind of annoying doing some of those people.
Yeah, it's the same one.
I've done Gazelle.
What happens?
I've done a Gazelle, and Gazelle is horrible. Their pricing it's not worth it anymore. It was at one point pretty good.
But there's a few more online ones that are a little bit better that I found. Was it Mac? Could be Mac Rumors or 9 to 5 Mac. I think has a affiliate with a trade.
Yeah, they've got some links in this article where we're going to link back on this discussion. So,
theirs is pretty good. So what you do also is for next time is if you think a new phone's going to come out or a new device is going to come out, and it's not out yet. A lot of these places, especially 9 to 5 Mac one and Gazelle and all of them will give you like a 30-day price guarantee of that. Yeah. So you can lock in, and I've done this a few times. Right. You can lock in a price. Right. Because once that product drops, that price goes down a lot. So I've done pretty well with that. I think a couple of watches I did like that where I got a lot more than if I would have waited till the watch dropped out. And a couple other things too is with phones and iPads, it seems like storage space kind of loses value. During resale too, if you do it. So a lot of times you'll like put a terabyte drive in or not terabyte, you'll max out your phone to 256. Right. And generally they don't really care that much, on resale. And you'll see they'll give you like a few bucks more. So it's not just keep that in mind too, that the resale value depends on a lot of things, but storage size doesn't seem to be one of them. Yeah,
and then all the carriers are generous with their trade-ins, but I've never been a huge fan of trading into my carrier. In my case, T-Mobile, only because you're locked in with them. You're gonna be on their payment plan. You got to pay them a monthly fee. I just have found Apple's trade-in plan, or even Apple's payment plan, because you can do the payment plan with the Apple Card. So if you don't want to do the trade-in program each year, is much easier in my opinion. And this way, if the trade-in plan, if after a year I don't want to trade it in, I can keep it for another year until it's paid off. And then once it's paid off, then it's mine and I can do what I want with it. I mean, there's been like last year on my 10S Max, I actually had a family member buy it instead. So they just paid off what was left of the phone, which saved them a lot because it was, if you remember the 10S Max, which I had 256 was not cheap. So they got it for half the price of what it was. So there's deals like that. Of course, you work out with family members if they want, because they know you're an upgrader and they're not. So, but there's a lot of great lists of ways of looking into trading in your phone on this site. So anything else you wanted to add on this?
No, just read the article, because it is, if you're doing private trading, private selling, there is a science behind it. It's not as easy as you would think it would be. So take a look at the article.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on. We have our next topic is going to be the iPhone SE. Well, it is out on the wild. It is out on the wild at this point. I think a lot of people are getting the SEs, I believe, this weekend, right? I think it shipped this week. I think our friend Guy Searle, I saw him posted in Mac of the Future that his phone's on its way, which I still am surprised he decided to go with a smaller phone, and he's the big guy.
Yeah, we'll see how it
goes. I'm curious to see how much he complains about it.
He should get his tomorrow. I know a lot of review units were the embargo was lifted, so there was a lot of reviews about it.
Oh yeah, and that's what I was gonna say about this. There's a ton of reviews out there, right? I mean, I watched iJustine, Marcus Brownlee, and Mac Rumors, 9 to 5 Mac. They've all done their initial thoughts on the phone. It's still pretty new, but breaking it down, I found this is probably some of the things of what you're going to miss in as far as 5 key features that aren't going to be on this phone, this iPhone. The first one is a stereo speaker. It's only going to have a single speaker on it, so it's going to be mono sounding. So I don't know if that's going to be a deal breaker for you. Would it be a deal breaker for you?
I don't listen to music. I'm not the kind of person that listens to music on my iPhone out loud. So for me, I would.
So you got to think if you're one. I mean, the 11 Pro Max has amazing sound to it, but if you find that you're going to be struggling with the sound, because most of us are going to be using our AirPods or any Bluetooth headphone or speaker on it. Yep, it isn't going to matter because the sound's going to be much better on there, of course. Doesn't include night mode. Well, yeah, they got to cut corners somewhere, right? So
that would bother me.
It does. It would be for sure. Yeah, I really love that feature on the 11, the 11 Pro Max and 11 Pro. Yeah. So.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, that would be kind of bothering me a little bit. So there's one of the features right there that kind of stands out. You're trying to save some money, and you're not going to have that feature. The third one is no Face ID and no headphone jack. Well, we've lived without the headphone jack this long. I can't imagine that's much of a problem, because anybody, even who had the iPhone 8, and that which this model is kind of based on, it didn't have a headphone jack. So. That's not a huge deal. And then Face ID, I like Face ID personally. Don't you do as well, right?
Yeah, normally.
Yeah, unless you're wearing a mask, of course.
Not these days as much. It kind of bothers me more, but that will pass.
Yeah,
and we'll get back to using the Face ID.
So you go with Touch ID in that sense. So that's really a personal preference of how you want to unlock the phone. People are used to Touch ID, and then this is a perfect phone for you. People are going from the 7 or the 8. It'd be great. But if you're going 10R or anything else, which I don't think a lot of people are going to be doing that, I'd be surprised that folks are jumping from those models.
Yeah. I think anybody going from a Face ID model is not going to jump back to this phone. Yeah. I think anybody going from a Touch ID model will possibly get to this phone rather than go to a Face ID model.
Right. So, and then number 2 is no tap to wake. Well, that's kind of annoying. I actually like that feature. Don't you?
Yeah. No. I mean, I think I use it all the time instinctively, but that's kind of weird, because I thought, didn't the 8 have that too?
I thought it did.
Or maybe not.
I thought it did. So, like I said, to get into this price point, they had to make some exceptions, right? To where they want to cut. So, and then the last one I came up with was the U1 ultra wideband chip. It's in the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro, but other than some of the features that the AirPods have, the AirPods and AirPods Pro, that utilizes that chip for connectivity, there really isn't much for that chip right at the moment. But it is going to be a chip for the future. It could be missed later, because people are going to buy this iPhone SE and want to keep it for a long period of time. Don't you think?
Unless that chip also what's going to help with the AirTags, or is that something else?
It may. I don't know, because those are still unreleased.
I thought that's what it was. I thought that chip also helps the AirTags get located, because people with that chip in their phone could locate those the AirTags. So if that is the case, that's kind of weird that Apple wouldn't put that in there, because that kind of makes the AirPods more valuable, because the more people that have a phone that could pick up the AirTag location, the more useful it becomes. So
yep.
Yeah.
And
but it does have the
go ahead.
It does have the Wi-Fi 6, which
it does have, which is kind of strange. Or 5.
6, yeah.
So, final impressions of this iPhone SE, just based on what we've read and what we've watched and all the unboxings. My impressions was going to be it's just basically a stripped down version of a phone. I mean, it's very, very low end. For someone who wants just a basic entry level phone, I think this iPhone is perfect for them. You don't have to spend, starting at $400. It's the cheapest iPhone you're ever going to find. That's brand new. I can't see why you wouldn't want to go with something like that. Someone like you and I, who have the 11 Pro Max and always like the higher end technology, we're probably not going to be the audience for this phone, this iPhone. So, what are your final impressions?
No, I mean, yeah, for us, it's not going to work because we're used to some of the better features. I would get this as a work phone or maybe a spare phone, possibly. But it's not going to be my primary phone. But certainly, if I was going, for my parents or for a younger kid or for a work phone, I have no problem recommending this phone for somebody who says, "Listen, I have a 6 now and I need to upgrade it, but I don't want to spend the money."
Yeah.
I would say this is a phone for you. So, it doesn't have a lot of features, but it has power, which is half the battle.
Yep. It's going to be a big seller. I really think it will be. I think everybody's kind of on the fence. Camera wise, it's got the one single wide angle lens. The wide angle, is it a wide angle lens? I think it is. It's the standard lens. Out of the 3 lenses that are in the 11 Pro, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max, and 11 for that matter.
It does portrait. It does portrait, but software.
Yeah,
portrait.
Software portrait, and it's limited. But it like I said, good starting iPhone, and it's got a decent camera, and you can't go wrong with it. And like we talked about earlier, it's got the fast processing, and compare it to an Android, I think you can't go wrong with it. And that's that with the iPhone SE. Unless you have anything else you want to add to that.
No, that covers it.
All right. So I've got a couple tips I want to talk about this week, and then I got a couple apps as well that we wanted to talk about a little bit. Customizing the share sheet. Have you customized your share sheet in iPhone, an iPad? Too much of a detail?
No, not really. I found actually that most of the stuff on the share sheet is pretty much good for what I use it for. There's probably some things I could get rid of.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm pretty good with the default settings on that.
Well, for sharing options, that's the top row. And anytime you go into a particular app, and what the share sheet is, it's going to bring up the rows of what you want to share with somebody within a specific application. And you can set it up for favorites, and you can set it up for specific apps. It'll give you suggestions. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to see some contacts. You message them off them in a top row. And on the second row, you're going to have a device that gives it what thinks you'll want to use, like Mail, Facebook, Notes, and other apps. Then if you scroll to the second row, and then you tap the More button, then tap Edit at the top of the next screen, you'll notice that the AirDrop has a permanent spot in your favorites, because of course, using AirDrop, I do that. I mean, I don't know about you, use that all the time, I assume, to send things to your other devices, right? Or to somebody else.
Yep. Yep. All the time.
Yeah, AirDrop is awesome. I mean, I think it's really awesome. So then other apps can be removed from the favorites, and of course, it's got the little red minus signs to take them out, and then it's got the 3-bar bread box that you can move them up into any order you want. And then at the bottom there are suggestions. Now, you and I both use Facebook. Facebook's always the one thing you always want to share something right from a particular, like whether it's a Safari, it's a website, you want to use the share function on there. Whether it's a browser like Chrome or Firefox or even Slack for that matter, you might want to share something right into Slack if you're doing some communications with that. And you can add however many you want in that row, and then it gives you a full list of items that are there, and once you're done, you just tap the done button, and then there it is. And then the next time you open up that share sheet, your favorites will be the first ones, and then the second row will have the other ones at your fingertips. Now, there's also actions. You know, I'm assuming you've used a lot of these actions, right? That that you do, like copy and add to home screen and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
When you'll have some quick ways to share that way as well. So you've got things like you want to add to the home screen. There's a lot of times if you're going to Safari, there's a website that you may go to all the time. You may want to add it to the home screen. It'll give you that option. Just add it right from the share sheet to one of the home screen sections on your iPhone, and then gives you access to that website all the time. You can add to the reading list in Safari. Look, if you're a lot of times people using Safari and you want to have a list of sites that you want to go back and read later, you have that option right in there from the share sheet. Adding a bookmark or adding favorites. So a lot of this stuff is all there, and you can go in and actually edit these actions too, and you can reorder them the way you want. That's by tapping in the edit, and if you want to you want to reorder them the way you use the things, you can do that as well. Also gives you options like markup. So you want to be able to mark up a photo, let's say, you can do it right from the share sheet, or you want to print something right away. Gives you that option there, giving you ways of that as well. The share sheet is very powerful. It's a place that you want to set up and customize in the best way you can and how you want to work, which I think is a great thing to be able to do, and it'll make life easy for you on that. Anything anything that stands out for you that you like to use in the share sheet?
No, as long as it's there, 99% of the time when I go to share something, it's there. So it as I said, defaults are pretty good, and so I'm pretty happy with the way it works.
Yeah. So easy way to know where it's there. First place to go is when you're in Safari. You've got the little square with the arrow up. That's the share sheet. You tap that button, and then that's going to tell you give you options of what you want to do it. The first two rows are there. The first row, of course, is going to show also people you've texted, you've sent messages to recently, so which is really cool. I've got that on my first row where anybody that's in my list that I've sent messages to recently, I can tap it real quickly and be able to do it. Like I've got my iPad right next to me. I can send from my iPhone to my iPad right away if I want to switch over. If I'm looking at a website here. AirDrop's going to give me options of how many places I can AirDrop. Of course, I can AirDrop to both my Mac and my iPad, as well as somebody who's in the room or nearby. And then, like I said, as I mentioned, you can scroll all the way down and tap the edit actions, and you can reorder all of those items, as well as be able to add or remove things if there's some things you don't use all the time. If there's something you don't use all the time, just remove it. I mean, it saves you having to scroll through and taking a look at it. So. Any other things you want to touch on before we move on, Warren?
Nope, good stuff.
All right. So another feature I wanted to talk about is accessing the accessibility shortcuts. Do you use the magnifier on your iPhone all the time, or some of the time?
A lot.
Yeah.
Most of the time. My eyes are.
Yeah, mine too.
My eyes aren't what they used to.
I don't know if anybody knew this.
So it actually.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it comes in handy.
Yeah, I mean, the magnifier is awesome.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. The magnifier is awesome, isn't it?
The magnifier is awesome.
Yeah.
And you could you do the magnifier, and if you tap on it, it will hold still what you just did. Yep. So then kind of you could kind of expect. Not only can you magnify, but then you could pinch to zoom it even bigger. So it's like a superhuman magnification. So it comes in very handy, especially in IT when you have to do serial numbers.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Oh my! Can you read me that serial number?
What?
Oh my!
That service tag?
I can't. I seriously can't. So that I remember I have those, which it's much handier than carrying reading glasses. So I use it all the time.
And I had thought that they had turned that on by default because I just did a erase and reinstall of my other iPhone, and it wasn't turned on by default. I had thought they had changed that where it's on automatically, but apparently they may have changed that.
I thought it was on the control center. Mine's on the control center. Is that what you're looking for?
No, I was looking in when you go where I went is if you go into settings, then you scroll down and go to accessibility. That's where all the different accessibility options are. And one of them is magnifier. Right. But yeah, I think. But you're right. You also can get to the magnifier from the control center.
From the control center. Yeah, you don't have to go in there. So if you just on mine, actually, I don't know if they customize it or not, but if you go to a control center or magnifiers there,
you can customize that. But my tip actually today was to go into accessibility and access some of the other accessibility features in the menu by when you tap your side button 3 times to get to it. Because by default, that's turned on. So when you turn on magnifier, you just do tap 3 times. That's where you also the button you use when you approve your credit card on the side there. You have to tap that. So when you turn the magnifier on, that's in there by default. But there's also a feature which I wasn't aware of, and I found this is if you go into settings and then go into accessibility, and then you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there is a section under general called accessibility shortcut, and then it's set to ask. So if you go in there, the magnifier is already going to be there because it's already there. But there's some other features that you may use. Including maybe you'd use reduce white point if you have issues with vision. You want it to be a little lighter or darker. You have a lot of those features there, and all you do is you turn that on. The other one that's real handy is the assistive touch, where it puts the little round circle on there. Maybe sometimes you want to be able to tap to go to the home and access some of those features. So I've got accessibility touch and magnifier currently turned on. And when I go to the home page there, I can triple tap the button. It brings up a menu then. So then I can choose, do I want the magnifier or do I want the assistive touch? I can turn the assistive touch on, and then it brings up that little dot there, and then it gives you access to all the other menus that are in there, including getting to the control center. It's more for people who are limited on vision or want to be able to access things without having to, their limited mobility and moving around the screen. Is what the assistive touch is. I know were you aware of that?
It's also yeah. It was also good for people who had a broken home screen.
Yes, home exactly. So, yeah. Well, which you don't have to worry about anymore on. Oh, yeah. What's that?
On the Face ID, yeah. No, it used to be like people thought it was a secret. Like the home screen's broken. I have a secret. I could show you something, and they would put it on there. Of course, it was horrible to have on there all the time if you don't need it because it takes up part of your screen.
Right.
But, yeah, there was definitely a way to do it that way.
So check that out. That's a thing I wasn't aware of, that it gives you like a menu of different accessibility features that you may want to utilize, and you can just check them off, and it puts it in that menu. But if you don't use any of those, you can just uncheck all of them and just have magnifier, and then it automatically just opens the magnifier, which most people have it set that way. But thought that was cool. All right, a couple of apps here, and I don't know if you had an app. If you don't, maybe you should think, if you could think of one that you might have come across recently. But I got 2 here I wanted to talk about. The first one is the Clock app, and I didn't think, why would I even want to talk about the Clock app, because it's no big deal thing here. And on the iPhone especially, it's pretty basic, right? You open up the Clock app, and the first place you go to the world clock, and then you have the alarms, the bedtime settings, the stopwatch, and the timer. Well, on the iPad also has those same features, but I found that the iPad is very robust when it comes to some of these features. And I'm going to go through some of them here. The first one is that when you open up the clock on the iPad, of course, you got a much bigger screen. When you tap the world clock, the real cool thing about it is it not only does it shows an actual analog clock for each location. It actually tells you how many hours it's different from where you're located. The sunrise and sunset for that particular location. Like right now, I've got things set going to the West Coast, San Francisco. Tells you what time it is in San Francisco as we're recording this, and then New York is on the East Coast, so it's in between those two. Tell me how many hours ahead or behind they are, and then you could do international locations. Like I got London right now; it's almost 2 a.m. in London as we record this, so it's 6 hours difference because you always forget what the times are really, what that is. And it also has an awesome view of the world showing where the sun is now and where it's dark and where it's light. So gives you a nice layout there. Then you can just scroll across the bottom there and scroll across and have as many different locations that you want. So like if you go to Sydney, Australia, it shows how many hours they're ahead. They're 15 hours ahead. Or Singapore, because you forget. Sometimes you are working with a lot of these locations and you forget the time. And I think it gives you a much more robust view of it. Now, if you want to be able to add another one, there's a plus at the top there, and it gives you a whole slew of lists of cities you want to be able to add, which is great. And then you also can edit at the top left. And if there are clocks down here you don't want to have in there, you tap that edit, and then it's got the little red minus next to each clock, so you can remove whichever location you may not care about to what time it is. So, have you explored this at all in the clock?
No, I play with the bedtime option once, and
yeah, I did too.
If you play with that, if you play with it, it's hard to unplay with it. So
I found that out too. Yeah.
Once you set it, it's just like a one-time switch. So, but yeah, I haven't played too much with the clock other than the world clock. I have used the world clock when I used to travel overseas.
Right.
Than I do now.
But sometimes you are. I mean, I talk to people in other countries around the world. A lot of times I forget what time it is there, and I have to look it up. And let me just fire this up, and I can find it real quick. And then the next feature in the clock is the alarm, of course. Now, I have no alarms in my iPad. I have tons of them in my iPhone, but very robust. Just tap the plus at the top there. You can set it for a specific time in the morning or the evening. You set it for if you want to repeat it, you can tap that and it'll repeat however many days. You could do every Sunday, every Monday, or every specific day. You could set it as a label on it, however you want to label it. You can call it whatever you want and name it what it's for. You have options for what sound you want it to play. Of course, the radar is always the default one. And then you can turn the snooze on and off. And once you save it, it's right there. It's got a nice big square. It tells you how you've set it, what it is, and away you go. Like you said, the bedtime, you're right. I play with that a little bit. What the bedtime is it allows you to schedule and wake up your alarm and bedtime reminders on your iPad. I don't know if too many people like to have their iPad next to on your nightstand. I assume you don't.
Not my iPad.
Yeah.
No. My phone. Yeah.
Right. iPhone as well. So that's what that is. I'm not going to go into much detail with that. Stopwatch is great. Gives you a nice big display of that. Of course, that's got some great features also on your iPhone as well as your Apple Watch. I use a stopwatch a fair amount on my Apple Watch as well as the timer. Timer is a nice thing where you can set it for however many minutes you want to count down. Maybe you're cooking something, you want to set it for a particular amount of time. And it lets you set that too. Do you use it on your Apple Watch, the timer at all?
Yeah, here and there, where you could say "Hey, ask lady" on the watch too. Do that too.
So that's the clock app. I thought it was kind of cool just to kind of give a view of what it was all about and check it out. People may not know that it's got some of those great features in there. So. And then the last app I have is Pixelmator. Pixelmator for iOS. Pixelmator is a great photo editing program, and it's probably one of the cheaper ones too. The pricing in the App Store. You can get it for $4.99, and it's not too terribly difficult compared to like Photoshop. If you're not a Photoshop user, Photoshop can be challenging to work. It's got a bit of a learning curve, but Pixelmator is very easy. It comes through and gives you options that are very good. And what they've done is they've done an update to it, version 2.5, and it's got a number of additions that it's added. It didn't have support to the built-in Files document browser, which I've found to be kind of annoying because it was hard to get to files if you wanted to be able to pull them down. Now, while they added this feature, it also can quickly open and edit the images in iCloud and then store them either on the iPhone and iPad or external cloud storage like Dropbox as well. So it's got access to all those files functionality. And also it has a new photo browser, which you didn't allow you to do. So you're also very easily able to browse the photo browser. And you can also use the new image size presets to create new images with common sizes, because that's always a challenge. You got to know what the size is of this particular file. or a photo, I should say. So it's $4.99 in the App Store. Great little app. Have you used this app at all? You're not a photo editor, so probably not.
I haven't, but I've been right. But I have heard of it, and I definitely heard good things about it too.
Yeah. So it's a good app, good app of the week this week to highlight that. So, did you have any app that you wanted to talk about this week before we wrap things up?
No, I'm just going to keep playing with this keyboard.
Yeah, you're in that keyboard mode right now. So, but
I'm like dumbfounded by it. It's going to be good. You're going to like it. So we'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about it next week. I'll have my Magic Keyboard tomorrow, and I can't wait. I'm going to be playing with it, and Warren and I will both have a full week's worth of time using it, and really give you an in-depth review of the keyboard. A programming note, I wanted to just shout out that next week we have, of course, you'll still be hearing myself and Warren. We also have a guest. Renee Ritchie will be on the show. First time ever I was able to reach out to him, and he's going to be out talking about his new indie work. He moved on from iMore, and now he's working indie. So it's going to be a great conversation with Renee, and I guarantee he has the keyboard. So all three of us will be able to do comparisons and give a discussion. I'm sure Renee will already have a video out on his YouTube page talking about it already. So I can't wait to have him on the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. So anything else you have, Warren, before we wrap things up?
iFixit. There's an article now. If people want to take a look later, they tore down the since we're talking about the new SE compared to the 8, they tore it down compared to the 8 on the iFixit. So if people want to take a look at that, it's kind of neat.
We'll put that in the show notes.
Basically, they're saying they're pretty much just similar.
What was the repairability number?
Let's see.
I'm sure it's still low. Most iPhones are.
Yeah, it doesn't say in this article, but it basically says it's identical to the 8, except for the modem and the Wi-Fi chip. Yeah. Basically, is what you're saying, and the flashlight setup, strangely enough. But yeah, I'm sure it's got the same repairability as the 8.
As some more information comes out on the iPhone SE, we'll definitely share it with you. I'm sure as it's in the wild, we'll even hear from our friend Guy Cyril to what his first thoughts are, and we'll get you. Get you that info as well.
It's so small, I can't even
see it. And I don't know what to do. I can't. So
I can't.
I'm just waiting. We're just waiting for next week to listen about that. So,
yeah, that should be good.
So anyway, let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others. Or better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios, where all intouchwithios.com, where all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Warren, where can they find you?
You can find me mostly on Facebook, the Mac to the Future group, which is linked in the notes. I do this show with Dave. I do another show with Dave and Guy on Wednesday nights, both nights of the Future Go. And these days you can find me pretty much in my house.
Yes,
and possibly on and Twitter, possibly Reviews Club is for if you really need it. If you can't find me some other way, try that. I might respond back to that.
All right, Warren. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it, and thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody in Facebook that watched us live while we recorded this, and we will talk to you again very soon.